Good afternoon, YouTube. I hope everyone is well. Welcome to the video. It's an exciting one, a video I've been waiting to upload for a long time. It's going to be a Q&A, an Amazon FBA Q&A, where I answer all of those burning questions that you guys have been waiting to ask. So we're not going to hang about, we're going to jump straight into this video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it adds some value to your day and you find some of the answers to the questions useful. If you do, please hit that like button and comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Welcome to the video, guys. So let's jump straight into this one. I've got my trusty iPad. Now this iPad is bigger than, well, two times the size of my head. It's actually about 13 years old, I think, or 10 years old. So hopefully it stands up to what I'm putting it through today, which isn't much. I'm just logging into Instagram to answer some of the questions that you guys have asked me over the last 2 days. So the reason I'm using this, by the way, is because I'm recording on my phone and I realized that obviously my Instagram's on my phone, so I had to download the app and we're going to do it this way. So fingers crossed for the old iPad. Right, so let's jump straight into this and we'll see what sort of questions I've been asked. I have had a sneak peek, but I haven't looked at all of them. So we're going to log into the app and we're going to jump straight into the first one. So right, nice easy one to begin with. How many products do you sell on Amazon currently? So at the moment I have 10 active SKUs, 10 products that are available on the UK marketplace. However, I did initially start with only one product when I launched back at the beginning of 2017. This is a result of sort of scaling over time and adding products to my portfolio, over a period of sort of 18 months. So I have got 2 other SKUs that are unfortunately out of stock, which I'm working to get back in stock ASAP. So that is how many products I've got. Number 2, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it? Something that you guys might be able to take something from, if you're at the product research stage and negotiating and talking to suppliers. I've got a few. So, I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning of this journey. Right? When I was, at the first sort of few months of selling, and even before I started selling, I missed a lot of steps that I shouldn't have. I didn't consider a lot of things that I should have, mainly because I was very impulsive. I rushed it. I wanted to do it quickly, and I didn't really do the proper research into the methods and strategy behind what I was doing. So there was a lot of mistakes at the beginning, I suppose, but one of the biggest challenges, not so much mistakes, they were challenges to overcome those, but one of the biggest challenges I have now probably be, and it's going to be different for everyone, but for me it is communicating with my supplier. I have a lot of issues communicating with my supplier, passing information to her, trying to gauge whether or not she's understood what I've been talking about. You're going to get different levels of supplier communication. You will have, if you're lucky, a very good supplier who speaks very good English and is good at communicating with, very responsive. If you're unlucky, you will have someone who's got poor Chinese. If you are importing from China, I'm making an assumption there. Typically you like to vet a supplier, so I'd like to think that you weren't communicating or purchasing from suppliers who've got really poor English, because it will cause problems, right? Whether or not it's, the quantity's wrong, they send the wrong colour, you don't know what can go wrong, because there is a language barrier there and we can't expect them to speak fluent English. But if you do your proper research, you will get a good supplier. Now my supplier is, I would say, medium I would say average probably in terms of their spoken and written English, but it's just very hard for me to communicate. They've made a lot of mistakes. They've shipped products under my instruction that have arrived, and it's like they literally just missed the whole email. At one occasion I had, I think, 5 different SKUs coming, and I wanted them sort of boxed in 5 different boxes. I think it was 100 units a box. So I could send them in. They were sent into FBA very, very easily, and they all had to be a single SKU per box in their respective boxes. And she was very clear about this, but understanding. I even, if I recall correctly, I drew a picture of a box with like a tick next to it, with a felt tip pen, and took a photo of it to show her like only one product in each box, and a big cross next to one with lots of different products. But the mistake was still made, and that causes problems for me. That obviously caused problems itself, that mistake. But just general day-to-day communication, trying to, improve the product is hard for me. And that's probably my biggest challenge at the moment. And hence why vetting your supplier is very important. Like I mentioned a moment ago, if you're at the product research stage, you can, consider this heavily in, when you decide what supplier to go with. So number 3, is it easy to expand into the EU and US marketplaces? The EU is relatively easy. It's all interlinked. You can cross-list from Amazon UK over to the European Union. I cross-listed my listings. There's guidance on Amazon in sort of half a day, I believe, and I think they were active the next day. You can fulfill orders into Europe from the UK. I would advise not to go for pan-European FBA. There's VAT implications when you store products in European countries and fulfill it from that country. It's better to store them here and ship them over there, even though the FBA fee is slightly more. But it's generally quite easy. You will see products perform very, very well in Europe. It's often better than in the UK, so it works out quite well that you can cross-list those products. The US is slightly different. It's a separate entity. Like Australia, you can't fulfill from the UK to the US. You need a separate account that's linked to yours. You need to ship the products over to a fulfillment center if you are using FBA. You may also need reapproval in a category you may already be approved in because it's a different marketplace, and I've had that experience myself. They asked me for approval again. And also, once you do get approved, you've got a certain amount of time to get your stock into, you get your inventory into FBA in the US. So it's a little bit more complicated to expand over there, but it's doable. The EU is much, much easier. Next question, how long, can't even read this one. How long did it take you to start paying yourself? Well, like many people who start an FBA, I had a full-time job when I was setting up, so I didn't need to take much money out of the business at all. I didn't take anything, I don't think, for a while, actually, because I was on sort of $1,200 a month. It was enough. I had cheap bills. I was living in my parents' old house with my sister and my partner, so it was pretty easy. I could just reinvest, and scale. However, when I quit work, which was in March 2018, to pursue my Amazon FBA business, I spoke to my accountant, and obviously I needed to supplement that income from somewhere, and they suggested that I take £702 a month every single month, which I don't have any income tax on, and to have any other income as a dividend because it's tax effective to do it that way. Meaning at the end of the year, based on how much profit I make, I will take an amount out of the business as a lump sum. So at the moment I'm living off £702 a month, plus any money that I get through all of my affiliate programs. I work with a few different companies quite closely, and my personal brand on YouTube as well. So I kind of juggle it all together, but I did have a dividend last year, and obviously those savings that I can spend and use throughout the year. But it took me about 12 months to start paying myself. I would suggest, if you can, especially if you're working full-time, try not to take any money out of the business. It can have a negative effect on your growth. It can stop you growing at a rate that you otherwise would have been able to. So if you can afford to take out a bare minimum, and just wait until you've scaled up and you've got 3 or 4 products, right, when you can take out a little bit and it's not going to affect launching anything else. Imagine you took out, £450, £500 a month for your first product, and after 3 months you think, God, I want to launch product 2 now, but I've just gone and spent $1,500 that I could have put into this new one. So this is why it's so cool, and it works. Amazon FBA works when you work in a full-time job. Next question is, and this is ad lib, so I haven't actually read this one. I've read, like I said, I had a sneak peek. What is a counterfeit product compared to an inauthentic one? Well, it's good to know these things, right? Because we are private labeling on Amazon. A counterfeit product essentially is a fake product. So it's, imagine a Nike trainer. Imagine you conjured up your own fake trainer in your room and drew a tick on it, and it looked very, very similar, and tried to ploy it off as a real Nike shoe. That would be a counterfeit product. It's fake. It's not real. It's not a Nike shoe. Opposed to an inauthentic product, which effectively means that you are not an assigned distributor of a brand, but you're still selling it. So we'll look at the same example of a Nike shoe. If you were actually selling genuine Nike shoes that you'd bought from a shop on Amazon, that is not allowed. They are inauthentic. They're not badged and branded and categorized as an authentic product, because you don't have distribution rights on that product. You're just selling it against the rules, right? You need to have, effectively need to have rights from the brand owner or the rights owner or the distributor that you're allowed to sell that brand. So very different things. One's fake, one could be real, but you're not allowed to sell it. How old are you? 28, that was an easy one. I feel a lot younger, but I am 28. No greys yet, though. I don't know if this camera quality isn't good enough, but no greys there yet. Next question. Hard one, actually, this is. What is the hardest part of FBA? It's an open question. Not sure which this AMLMN is referring to here. What is the hardest part of FBA? So in terms of the processes and strategies, I would say launch and product research stage are the most time consuming and the most difficult. A lot of thought, a lot of effort need to go into those two things to make sure that you execute them correctly. Yeah, I would say both of those two things really. It's quite straightforward actually. They are the hardest parts. They're still enjoyable if you do it correctly, but they are difficult and they take time. So would you advise using debt to get started? I mean, going into debt to get started. I would not advise using debt to get started on Amazon. You want to only invest money that invest sparingly, invest an amount that you are able to lose, essentially. Don't invest, your next 3 months mortgage payments. Ideally save up, if you want to start learning first, invest in some learning programs and then move on to saving up for stock. But I wouldn't advise to get into debt, obviously, to get started. It's not, you want to make sure that you're living within your means and you're spending within your means as well. So, there are options to take out 0% credit cards. I've had students do that, different times you would do it. If you, for example, if you tried to cut corners and launch with a little bit less money than you actually needed, and then realised, God, I need a bit more money for PPC and to reorder because I haven't got my money yet from the previous batch, I need to take out a credit card because everything's going great and I need to order again. That would be an example of when you'd need it. Or if you had no money and you were absolutely dying to get started, I suppose that is an option, a 0% credit card over 2 years, and then obviously you would repay that back over the first year, for example, and then you would be sustained on that income which you generated in the business that was churning over revenue every month. Can you become successful from selling on Amazon? Is £1 million a year realistic? That'll be a yes, no, I would say. A yes, no. So definitely can become successful selling on Amazon. The hype is real. I'm doing it. Students are doing it. Hundreds of thousands of people in the UK are private labeling, branding products and launching them on Amazon successfully and generating an income, whether it's £500 profit a month or £10,000 profit a month. It's happening. However, £1 million a year is definitely not realistic. You should manage your expectations. You should try to set yourself sort of short-term goals. For myself, it was try and make £500 profit a month. I remember saying that to myself when I launched my first product, and I made that happen. It was doing more than that actually when it got going after I revisited the mistakes and corrected them. But you don't want to think I'm going to earn £1 million this year. It's good to have long-term goals, right? Have an open mindset. I wanted to end my employment. That was one of my goals. I wanted to quit my 9 to 5. I wanted freedom. I wanted to work from home. I knew it was possible because people were doing it, but I didn't, that was something that fueled me every day, but I wasn't every day thinking, oh, I need that now, I need that now. I was working towards short-term goals with the overall aim of all those short-term goals, equating to the real long-term goal, which took me a year to do. Do you recommend eBay as well as Amazon? Why not? If you've got time, do it. If you're allocating time to eBay that you could otherwise put into Amazon, I would go for Amazon instead, however, because I believe their fulfillment services are far more superior to eBay's, and they have much more brand loyalty and they're a bigger platform and loads more money goes through them opposed to eBay. Next one, I don't even know what number we're on now, let's just go for 10. How do you manage your business finances? So, I would advise getting an accountant. A lot of people have a moment, same with setting up a business. I was like that, I can't have an accountant. What is this all about? Right at the beginning, but it's super simple. Fortunately for Amazon sellers, Amazon provide the Seller Central platform where you can download your monthly business reports, which will detail your expenditure, your income, all of this, everything basically. And you can just print off 12 months. It's literally 12 pieces of paper. Give it to your accountant. You don't need to sort of be sitting there every day thinking, oh, I've sold 12 units and however you do this, I'm not sure, but writing it all down. People do email me regarding this and worry about it, but you can download reports that detail this, provide it to an accountant who can do an end of year return for you. It's nothing to worry about. But it's good to get financial advice on on that front. You can get an accountant to submit your returns for as little as like £300 at the end of the year. It's once a year. Wipe your hands with it. Don't stress out over it. It's not worth it. Life's too short. But be on top of it. So you recently purchased a new house, into a new house. How many rooms has it got? 4 rooms. I'm not reading this one. Oh, okay. Is a course necessary? If so, what should you look for? Okay, good question. So a course, in my opinion, is a sound choice. It's a good decision to make if you are looking to invest in yourself and upskill and work on your own personal self-development. It is never a bad choice, and you're never going to be money poorly spent investing in yourself and learning. I believe that having the right guidance and the right information in front of you laid out will help minimize stress. It will help speed up the process. It will help increase the chances of it working. All of these pluses, I believe investing in it at the beginning when you can envisage what the actual potential is in 6 months' time, for example, it's always going to be money well spent. That was one mistake I made. I tried to wing it, and I made a ton of mistakes at the beginning, and it resulted in my first product being ridiculously slow burner. And if I had invested in something at the beginning, whether it's drop shipping, we're talking about Facebook. If you want to learn Facebook ads, if you want to learn anything e-commerce, right? You've got to train, you've got to upskill yourself, you've got to learn. And granted, there is free information online, but wow, it can get confusing as hell. And obviously, if you've got a mentor holding your hand as well through it, that's obviously a huge bonus. What should you look for? Look for a genuine person. Look for someone who's got authentic results. They're very transparent. They come across well. They explain information well. They check out their course, whether it's Facebook, Amazon FBA, whatever it is, course on YouTube I was looking at the other day, and make sure that they've got results, right? Have they got student results? How many students have they got? What are the reviews like? Do your due diligence. Don't just jump into any course willy-nilly, because you don't want to waste money, basically, especially when you're looking to start on Amazon. You want to be spending money frugally, if that's a word, I think it is. What are the biggest problems on Amazon? There are problems. There are problems on Amazon. I would say the biggest problem I encounter is firstly hijackers. I've not had it personally, but I have seen a couple of students who've had a hijacker on the listing. That basically means when you're selling your private label product, someone latches onto your buy box and they sell a knockoff product, possibly without even your branding on it, for a cheaper price, and that results in them winning the buy box. So when someone places an order on your listing, you don't get the sale. It doesn't come from your inventory. Now, there's lots of ways to deal with this. Every single instance where I've seen this, it might not happen first time, but if you keep coming at Amazon for a few different angles with the right evidence, they'll just remove them straight away. But it is still a problem nonetheless. Also, reviews, fake reviews are an issue. I've seen one student I was speaking to today who's had a competitor leave like 1 or 2 fake reviews on. Again, you need to approach this sensitively. You need to put together a case. You need to put together lots of evidence, and you will get them removed eventually. It might not happen straight away, but you will get them removed. You've just got to be persistent and tenacious about the whole process. Amazon can be useless, right? A lot of bots deal with a lot of inquiries. You'll have an auto response. You've got to keep going and going and going. Different angles, different angles, different angles. Oh, here is a good one. This is a deep one. Disclaimer, right? Don't listen to me with this one, but I'm going to give you my opinion anyway, right? So, is going to university worth it? Sensitive subject. So, I went to university twice. First one definitely wasn't worth it, but it did allow me to do my second. I'm going off on a tangent now. Is it worth it? So, university these days costs about £9,000 a year, right? So, 27k for 3 years. my advice would be, if you're doing a vocational job, if you're looking, so for example, a nurse, a physiotherapist, a doctor, where at the end of your degree, you've got a job waiting for you, right? And you're passionate and you want to do it, obviously it's worth the investment and you want to do that. It's a lot of money, but it's worth it if you've got a vocation or a job waiting for you at the end of it and you're clear in what you want. If you're just doing a degree for the sake of doing a degree and have got, no idea really what you want to do, you're doing like a, let me think, a sociology degree, you're going to come out of it and you think, I got no idea, I don't really want to be anything. It's not necessarily worth doing it just because all your mates are doing it, and it does cost a lot of money. I would certainly advise people who are doing it just for the sake of doing it to explore other avenues, right? We're living in the 21st century. E-commerce is at its peak. Amazon FBA, dropshipping, Facebook ads, Shopify. There are so many opportunities out there for people who are willing to think outside the box. I was one of those people. My students are one of those types of people, plural for that. And, you just have to explore other avenues. If you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. You have to try different things. But, I wouldn't, it depends on, it's circumstantial, right? It's situational. It depends on the person. It depends what you want. It does cost a lot of money. When my brother went to university 10 years ago, 13 years ago, it was like £1,000 or £1,500 a year for tuition fees. Like, that is insane. Now it's 9,000. That doesn't include all the other stuff, right? So that would be my take on that one. Am I guaranteed to make money selling on Amazon? Nope, definitely not. If you go into it blind and you don't know what you're doing and you make a poor investment and you go with the wrong product and you don't understand how to launch and you don't understand how to select the right product, it's definitely not going to work, or it's a high chance it's not going to work. That's why you've got to upskill yourself and make sure that you've read everything you can read and you understand what's going on to maximize the chances, right? Nothing is guaranteed in this life. You've got to make informed decisions, sound choices, and do your best, basically. So I believe though, although I would never tell anyone they're guaranteed to, if you work extremely hard, you've got a good work ethic and you follow a good strategy, you've got a very good chance of making it work with the right guidance. That would be my advice on that one. I don't want to be arrogant or like cocky or anything like that, but if I was to start tomorrow, I would be like 99% sure that I could get a product up, live, active, and profitable in 3 months, knowing what I know now and what I've taught. So it's possible. It's especially in the UK, the FBA is growing exponentially. Amazon's growing exponentially. Prime is expected to like double or triple by like 2021. It's kicking off here, basically. So it's a good time to get involved. You'll always have the question, was it better to get involved a year ago? It was, but people will be saying that in a year about now. I was saying that when I started. So can I start FBA with £500? No, it's not enough. If you're absolutely dead set on it, you could, I suppose, theoretically, but you'd run out of money almost certainly, and you wouldn't have enough for PPC, and you wouldn't have enough to reorder, so it's not enough. I've seen the least I've seen it done with is 1,000. I wouldn't recommend doing it with 1,000, but it can be done, especially at the moment. There's a lot of changes to Amazon's algorithms. I had a friend and a student as well, two separate people, who launched a product in the last 2 months, both instantly on the first page with 0 PPC, which is like weird, right? I'm still trying to work out what's going on there. Like, teach me how to do that. But that person, actually one of those people spent less than 1,000. The other one bought quite a lot of units. So it is possible. Wouldn't recommend it. You want about 1,500 really, maybe 2, depending on the units you buy, right? The most I've seen a student spend on the total venture is around 3K. So yeah, about that. But 500, just save up, right? Invest in some learning. If you want to learn, invest in that and save up, or just put that in the bank and keep saving until you've got an adequate amount to start. Anything else? What have we got? Okay. What is the craziest thing you've done? Wow. No, I'm joking. So, craziest thing I've done. Well, I say the thing that took the most courage, craziest, I don't know whether that's the right word, but, when I finished university, I wasn't ready to start a 9 to 5. I just didn't want to do it, right? So, I was dead set on traveling, but I had no money, like negative, I don't know what, like negative a full 3 years at uni, plus me spending money on stuff I didn't need. But I was adamant I wanted to go, so I worked my ass off in a shoe shop and I saved up for a flight to go to Australia, £500 it was, and then I went out there with like £1,000. So for anyone who's been to Australia, and planning an 8-month trip and going out there with £1,000, you're a bit mental, right? As everyone said to me, you're mad. But you know, I remember going to the airport and just sitting there and thinking, you know, I literally, like, what am I going to do with £1,000? Like, it's very expensive. I was going to Sydney. It's like, it's more expensive than London, and accommodation is extremely expensive. But, you know, I needed to do it, and I was like, I'm going to make this work. So I instantly created a CV. As soon as I got there, I went from shop to shop to shop relentlessly for like a week solid, like 8 hours a day, and then got a job, and, you know, had a fantastic time. It was probably one of the best times of my life living out in Sydney. With shout out to my friend Jord if he's watching, as I know he watches some of these videos. It'll be a test if he watches this one. He was someone I worked with out in Oz, so we worked in a gym and fitness first. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. I would love to do it again. I'd recommend going traveling if you haven't before. So I think we're coming to an end. Would you? How much? Okay, wait there. No, we've got another one. How much profit do you make a month? So at the moment, it's about 5k. It has been as high as 10k. It depends on the time of year for my product. It's not super seasonal, but it does have an impact depending on what time of year it is. I've also been focusing a tremendous amount of time on my students and the course at the moment, so I suppose that's taking a little bit of my attention away from FBA. But yeah, I mean, that's the end of the Q&A, guys. That's all the questions, right? If you've got any more, fire them in the comment section below. I hope you found some sort of value from any of that, and it's just a different kind of video, right? Just testing out a few different things. So hope you enjoyed it, and I will be posting another video on the weekend, and this is the third take, so I'm literally going to collapse on the floor at the end of this one because the other two didn't record 40-minute videos each, so I'm 120 minutes in, and I'm about to drop dead, plus this video, which is probably another 30. So anyway, you can tell I'm starting to fail, my brain's starting to fail, malfunction. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.